What's going on, YouTube? Welcome back to Chauvin's Garage. Today we're going to be going over part 2 of my 2001 Ford F250 two-wheel to four-wheel drive conversion. Previously we taken the two-wheel drive twin I-beam suspension and replaced it with the four-wheel drive front end. Today we're going to be talking about the transmission, transfer case, electrical, and drive shafts. So without further ado, let's hop into it. Alright, so the first thing we're going to be going over is the electrical. I know a lot of you are probably wondering about the dash lights and the wiring. Do you have to add a pigtail? Do you have to rewire anything? And the answer is no. These trucks are actually interchangeable from the factory, and I'll show you what I mean by that. We're crawling underneath the truck here on the driver's side. Locate your transmission. Up here you'll see the transmission wiring harness right here, and you're going to follow it to the back here. You'll see a pigtail with two wires that is capped off, that doesn't go to anything at all but a tail shaft housing. This is actually going to plug into your transfer case, and this is what sends the signal to the dash lights on inside the cab. And I've attached a couple photos here. I've verified this. I've jacked the transfer case up underneath the truck and plugged it in, shifted it in and out of four-wheel drive. You'll see the lights come on for low range and four-wheel drive. Everything works like it would if it came this way from the factory. And that's all you're going to need for the electrical. There's no more to it. It's simple as that. While we're under the truck, we're going to go ahead and talk about transmissions now. There are three different 4R100s, one for the 5.4, one for the 6.8, and one for the 7.3. They are all different. The 5.4 and the 6.8 share the same transmission bell housing and shell, but the internals for the 5.4 and the 6.8 are different. The 7.3 liter has a lot taller bell housing, and it is not interchangeable with the gas engines at all. There's two ways you can go about this. Option one would be to find a used transmission with low mileage that you could simply swap out, that's already four-wheel drive, ready to go. Or you can do option two, and this is the route I'm going to go. It's the more difficult route, but in the long run you'll have a good transmission. The option two would be to remove this transmission completely out of the truck. You have to change the transmission shaft. The four-wheel drive transmission shafts are actually shorter in length than the two-wheel drive ones. So you have to change the transmission shaft, then you have to change this transmission tail shaft to adapt it to the transfer case. And once you do that, it will be ready to go. No more to it. The only thing you have to add next is this transmission cross member. On the four-wheel drive models, the angle isn't so steep. It sits somewhere about down here. It's a lot lower. They're all the same arch from the 5.4, 6.8, and 7.3 on the four-wheel drive trucks. The only difference is the 7.3 has different slots, and the gas engines share the same slotted holes. So that's all you need to do really for the transmission. The wiring harness and everything will plug in the same. You just have to either get a used transmission or change the tail shaft out so you can adapt your transfer case. One other thing on this transmission cross member, there are more slots towards the back here. You'll see two more bolt holes. Depending on where your transmission or your transfer case sits, you might have to move it back one slot. If you have probably the 7.3, I'm not really sure. It could be the 5.4 uses the shorter one, and you might have to extend it. But there is adjustment right here in case it has to come out farther. It just depends on where it's going to end up. Aside from that, not too difficult. Like I said, transmission shaft, tail shaft, you can adapt your transfer case to it then. The pigtail plugs into it. And really it's that simple. You just got to hook up your transfer case linkage, and we'll go over that in just a minute. Alright, so now we're going to talk about the floor-mounted shifter for the transfer case. The reason I went with the floor-mounted shifter opposed to the switch on the dash, one, it's mechanical, it's a lot easier to install, and it's a lot less to go wrong. This is really easy to do. All these trucks came with the hole in the floor from the factory. They just put a cap over it. To install this, you're gonna have to remove this this panel here and this kick plate over here. There's a Christmas tree clip right here, and then there's two more clips, one here and one here, and then this pulls back towards you. Once you have all these out of the way, you have to remove the front seats and the center console. They're held in there with Torx bit bolts, and they just lift up and come straight out. Once you have the interior out, you can reach towards the firewall, grab hold of the carpet, and pull it back towards the back seat, and that will expose the floor. And as you can see here, there is the plate that you'll need to remove so you can install the shifter. The plate's not too hard to remove. There's 4 screws. You just back them out. It's held in there with an adhesive, so you have to sort of use a like a chisel and go around the edge of it and heat it up maybe if you have to. I actually ended up prying it out and then taking a wire brush and cleaned all the glue and adhesive up real good. Once the adhesive's gone, it's just a matter of lining everything up, fold the carpet back over, make your mark. You're going to want to be very careful cutting the carpet because you only have one chance at cutting it right, but it's not too hard. I used the rubber part of the boot as a template, cut out and around it, and everything just screws right back into the floor and you wouldn't even tell it was added. Now we're going to go over the rear drive shaft. Obviously it's going to be shorter because the transfer case is going to take up much more of this room, so you will have to get a rear drive shaft for your 4-wheel drive model truck. The drive shafts are really easy to change. The only other thing you have to change is the bracket for the carrier bearing. You can see up here, I've changed mine already. These are about twice as tall as a 2-wheel drive one. You do have to change these so you get your drive angle correct. There's just 4 9/16 bolts on the top, and that bracket comes right off. You can swap it out with a 4-wheel drive bracket, and you can see it holds the carrier bearing. The only other thing is on the early model trucks, they had a strap style drive shaft where it mates to the yoke with the straps right here and the 2 bolts. On the later model trucks, they went to a flange style, and the 2 flanges mate together instead of the straps. Aside from that, it's real easy. Just get that bracket changed out, get the right length drive shaft for your wheelbase, and it's as simple as changing them out. The front drive shaft is as easy as bolting it in. Once you get your transfer case in, you're going to want to measure from your flange to your yoke on your front differential. Make sure you get the right length, and it's as simple as bolting it in. Alright, now we're going to talk about transfer cases. There are 2 different transfer cases that came in these trucks. The NP271F, which is a manual shift on the floor, which is this one right here. And then they had the NP273F, which was an electric motor for the shift on the dash, like this style you see here. We're going to be using the manual transfer case, obviously. Very simple. This is the shift indicator. This is what sends the signal for your dash lights. This is a vent, a breather right here, and then this is where your shift rod is going to attach. Once you have the correct transmission tail shaft housing, there's a gasket that goes in between here, and then this bolts to your transmission. Obviously your front drive shaft and your rear drive shaft made up to it, and that's all there is to it. The 5.4, 6.8, 7.3, they all shared the same transfer case. The only thing I will say is you have to get a transfer case that fits with the 4R100, because when they came out with the 5R100 in 03 or 04, the input shaft sizes were different and they are not compatible, so you have to get a transfer case for a 4R100. Aside from that, very simple, there's not much to it. Alright, so these are the pieces you're going to need for the side of the transmission to mount your floor shifter to your transfer case. There's going to be a plate right here. This is going to go, these are going to be those 2 bolt holes you've seen on the side of the transmission. There's a Torx bolt like this. It's going to go in the back. And then this is your pivot. This is going to attach to your shifter right here with the 2 bolts. And this is the part that connects to the rod for your transfer case. I have bought a new rod here. This goes from the pivot point to the stem of your transfer case right here. This is where your transfer case pigtail plugs into for your shift indicator, and this is just a vent that I have capped off right now. Very simple. I'm going to try to kind of build this here. You can see this is just a grommet inside of here. Just a rubber grommet that just pops onto here like this. This end is going to be bolted to the transmission by this plate. This bolt goes on the back one like this, and then this one goes in the middle one, and you'll see this cog right here on the top. That's going to go facing up inside this channel, and that's what travels when you shift your shifter back and forth. Let me put this together real quick and I'll show you what it looks like assembled. Alright guys, so we have fast forwarded in time so I can show you how this transfer case linkage goes. What I did not realize is that there are two different brackets that bolt to the side of the transmission. One for the gas engines, one for the 7.3 liter. I actually have the bracket for the 7.3 liter. I have temporarily made it work. I'm in the process of getting the right one. Basically, the 7.3 liters have 3 punch holes, 1, 2, and then 3. And the gas engines only have 2, these front 2 right here. And the way this works is if you have a 7.3 liter, the bell housing and the transmission and everything's longer. So everything is kicked back towards the rear of the truck. If you look here on the side of the frame, the transmission cross member, those 2 holes I was talking about earlier, the 7.3 utilizes these. Therefore, the davit is going to be farther away from the hole in the floor. And basically this bracket just brings everything back forward. So if you have a 7.3 liter, this guy is going to be in the middle, your davit, and then your T50 Torx bolt is going to be in the rear slot, and it's going to bolt right here on those 2 bolt holes on the side. If you have a gas engine like my truck, this is going to be in the middle, and your T50 Torx bolt is going to be in the front slot, just like you see here. And it literally just bolts to the side of the transmission, snug it up, and that's all there is to it. There's 2 bolts that hold the shifter to the davit, and then it's just 2 rubber grommets on your shift rod that are pressure fitted on the davit, and then it goes back to the transfer case. And that's all there is to this. This is really simple. Like I said, I'm utilizing the 7.3 bracket for now, but I am in the process of getting the right one, and I'll attach a photo of what the gas engine bracket looks like and where to get one as well. Alright, well that pretty much covers everything you're going to need. There's not much more left at this point. We're going to send it to the transmission shop, have them have the transmission done, and I'll bring you guys back to show you how the 4-wheel drive shift linkage hooks up to the transfer case and how everything turned out. So fast forward from now, and here we are guys. We just got the truck back from the transmission shop. Everything's installed. I'm going to take you under the truck right now and show you what we got. Alright guys, here we are on the driver's side underneath the truck. As you can see, got the transfer case in, everything's hooked up. The gas engine ended up using the forward slot, as you can see here on the transmission cross member. Everything bolted right in. You can see we got the right transmission tail shaft housing. Our transfer case just bolts to it here, and obviously it bolts to the back of the transmission. We used our pigtail. It's plugged into the transfer case. We got the transfer case vent. It's just a rubber hose up here, as you can see. This rubber hose is just a vent. We got the right size drive shaft for the rear. It's bolted in, ready to go. There's really nothing to this, guys. We got the front drive shaft in, bolted up. We got our transfer case linkage. We are trying to get the right size bracket for this. I've made the 7.3 liter one work for now. Total rebuild on the transmission, upgraded torque converter, nothing fancy. That's really it, guys. It's really simple. Everything's plug and play, bolt it right in and go. If you have any questions about any of this, leave a comment down below. There's really one thing left to do at this point. That's to go for a drive and see how she handles, try out the 4-wheel drive. That's really it. I mean, pretty simple, pretty easy, nothing too intricate. Like I said, if you have any questions, leave a comment. I think we're going to go for a test drive now. So let's go give it a shot. Alright guys, so now we're going to do a quick road test, show you how the truck's driving, how it's shifting. We are clear both ways. We're going to go. shifts and everything. Just like a brand new truck. Alright guys, now I'm going to demonstrate the four-wheel drive. I already have the hubs locked in. You're going to want to shift the truck to neutral, and you're going to pull the shifter back one for four-wheel drive high. You'll see the light come on. Pull it back again for neutral, and then all the way back is four-wheel low. And there you have it. You can shift it into drive or first and second gear, and you're in granny low. Bit off-road in here. There's the trees rubbing the roof. Alright. Then to reverse it, shift it back to neutral, kick it out of four low into neutral, then 4 high, and then back into 2 high. There you go. Just like it would have came from the factory. Everything works flawlessly, no issues. A little bit of four-wheel drive action here. Alright guys, that pretty much wraps it up for this build series. You've basically seen the successful two-wheel to four-wheel drive conversion on this 2001 Ford F250. It turned out awesome. Very happy with it. Very easy to do. Nothing super difficult. I hope you guys like this build series. If you have any questions about anything, please leave a comment. Like the video, subscribe. If you want to see more videos like this, please let me know. As always, thanks for watching. We appreciate your support, and I will see you next time.